Hello everyone. Today we're going to discover the true limits of life on Earth, the blue whale. Now why emphasize true limits? Because by strict definition, the blue whale isn't actually the largest life form on Earth. If we consider plants and fungi as part of Earth's life, then there are much bigger contenders. Take the Hyperion tree, a California redwood that stands 116 meters tall, or the colossal honey fungus colony in Oregon, which weighs over 600 tons. The largest living organism in the world, the famous Pando aspen grove, reaches a staggering 6,000 tons. Compared to these, the blue whale hardly seems impressive. Even among animals, some extreme siphonophores can stretch over 100 meters in length, about 3 times that of a blue whale, making their advantage in sheer size quite evident. But objectively speaking, I don't think these contenders are in the same league as the blue whale. Why? Because despite being classified as singular life forms, they fundamentally differ from the blue whale. For instance, the honey fungus in the Pando aspen grove are essentially large clonal colonies spreading from their root systems. Even if you were to cut one of them in half, the remaining portion would continue to thrive. The blue whale, on the other hand, wouldn't survive such a division. It could likely die even from losing just 2 flippers. This aligns more closely with our traditional understanding of what constitutes a single living organism. As for siphonophores, they are composed of clonal individuals working together as a colony, blurring the line between a single organism and a collective entity. This classification remains controversial. From this perspective, if we're looking for the largest singular living being, the title still rightfully belongs to the blue whale. Now that we've eliminated its competitors, just how massive is the blue whale? The most reliable measurement to date records a length of 29.9 meters and a weight of 199 tons, making it the undisputed largest living animal today in both length and mass. But what's even more remarkable? Looking back at the entire evolutionary history of life on Earth, we have yet to find evidence of any creature heavier than the blue whale. The only known contender in length is the now extinct Argentinosaurus, which is estimated to have reached up to 40 meters. However, much of this length came from its extended neck and tail, which meant it was significantly lighter than the blue whale, at most around 100 tons, only half the whale's weight. But here's an interesting thought. Earth's life has been evolving for 500 million years since the Cambrian explosion, and the vast majority of species that ever existed have gone extinct. If the blue whale truly is the largest animal in history, then statistically speaking, it's a rare anomaly for the largest ever species to have survived until today. That alone is an extraordinary occurrence. This also suggests that we may one day discover fossils of even larger animals. But for now, the blue whale's sheer size remains unparalleled. In fact, its size is so extraordinary that it appears almost unnatural when compared to its closest relatives. The next largest whales, such as the fin whale, sei whale, and bowhead whale, max out at around 100 tons, roughly half the weight of the blue whale. This only makes its dominance even more remarkable. So let's take a moment to appreciate just how truly immense the blue whale is. One of the key reasons the blue whale reaches such colossal proportions is its incredible ability to consume food. Of course, it also starts life with a significant advantage. A newborn blue whale is already around 7 meters long and weighs nearly 3 tons. To put that into perspective, it's larger at birth than even the biggest great white sharks. And that's just the beginning of its astonishing journey as the true giant of Earth's life. Just like us, blue whales are mammals, which means baby blue whales nurse on their mother's milk. But what sets them apart is their status as the fastest growing infants in the world. A baby blue whale consumes an astonishing 400 kilograms of milk per day. And blue whale milk? It's the epitome of high-calorie nutrition. When we talk about whole milk from cows, the fat content is around 3, which is already considered high. But blue whale milk? It contains an incredible 40% fat. Nearly half of it is pure energy. Now imagine drinking hundreds of kilograms of this rich milk daily. How could they not grow rapidly? This extraordinary diet enables baby blue whales to gain weight at a mind-blowing rate of 90 kilograms per day. That's almost terrifying. After about 6 to 7 months of continuous nursing, when it's time to wean, a young blue whale already measures around 15 meters in length and weighs close to 20 tons, about as long as an adult minke whale, though still relatively lean. Once weaned, the young blue whale transitions to the diet it will rely on for the rest of its life: krill. This in itself is a fascinating fact. We've previously discussed another species of baleen whale, the humpback whale, which also feeds on krill. However, humpback whales have a more varied diet that includes flying fish, anchovies, herring, and other schooling fish. Blue whales, on the other hand, are nearly exclusive krill eaters. One could say that these tiny krill, seemingly insignificant on their own, are solely responsible for sustaining the largest animal on Earth. That is truly remarkable. In fact, krill are not just vital to blue whales. They play an essential role in the entire marine ecosystem and even impact Earth's environmental balance. But that's a longer discussion for another time. From what I know, there's already someone planning to cover this topic soon, so stay tuned if you're interested. How much does an adult blue whale eat? So just how much krill does an adult blue whale consume in a single day? Estimates suggest that they can eat up to 4 to 5 tons daily, the equivalent of a full-grown African elephant's weight. Imagine consuming an elephant's worth of food every single day. That's a truly terrifying appetite. Everyone knows that blue whales feed by filtering seawater, which means their mouths need to be enormous to take in as much water as possible in a single gulp. Previously, we mentioned that a humpback whale's mouth can hold around 20 tons of water in one gulp. But the blue whale? It takes this to an entirely different level. It can swallow up to 90 tons of water in a single mouthful. To put this into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to the entire body weight of the world's second largest animal, the fin whale. This alone demonstrates just how much of an advantage the blue whale holds as the undisputed giant of the animal kingdom. A fascinating contrast, the huge mouth with a tiny throat. Now here's an amusing contradiction. Despite possessing an enormous mouth capable of engulfing entire schools of krill in a single gulp, the blue whale's throat is surprisingly small. In fact, it's so narrow that it can't even swallow something as large as a soccer ball. So, if you ever find yourself accidentally swallowed by a blue whale, there's no need to panic. It literally can't do anything to you. At best, it might end up spitting you out, perhaps with a few extra kilograms of krill as a parting gift. Of course, I'm just joking, but the key takeaway here is that the largest eater on Earth can only swallow tiny shrimp-like creatures. A tragic encounter. The blue whale, stranded in Taiwan, on January 25th, 2020, Lunar New Year's Day. Typically a time of joy and celebration, a tragic discovery was made on the shores of Changbin, Taiwan. A whale carcass had washed up on the beach. The deceased whale measured 20 meters long, and its neck bore clear marks of entanglement and lacerations caused by ropes, leading to the conclusion that it had died after becoming trapped in fishing nets. Initially, reports identified the whale as a fin whale. However, after conducting DNA sequencing a few days later, experts revised their assessment. It was actually a juvenile blue whale. This raises an interesting question. How similar do blue whales and fin whales look that even experts need DNA testing to tell them apart? The uncanny resemblance between blue whales and fin whales. Let's take a look. If we only rely on photos, most people would struggle to distinguish between a blue whale and a fin whale. These two species look almost identical. They both have long, slender, streamlined bodies. Their dorsal colors are similar, and their pectoral and tail fins are nearly the same in shape. While their sizes differ, a juvenile blue whale placed next to an adult fin whale would be extremely difficult to tell apart. However, if we had to pinpoint some distinguishing features, we could focus on 3 key differences. Head shape. The blue whale's head is slightly more rounded, while the fin whale's head is more pointed. If we were to compare them, one resembles a U shape, while the other is closer to a V shape. Dorsal fin. The blue whale's dorsal fin is smaller and positioned further back, whereas the fin whale's dorsal fin is larger and located more toward the front. Jaw color. This is one of the most obvious distinctions. Fin whales have asymmetrical jaw coloration. The left side is dark, while the right side is lighter. In contrast, Blue whales have a uniform light coloration on both sides of their jaws, a relationship beyond appearance. Looking alike is one thing, but the connection between blue whales and fin whales goes much deeper. Their romantic entanglements have long been confirmed by scientists. Genetic analysis has already identified more than a dozen hybrid individuals between the two species. In fact, in 1998, when scientists examined whale meat being sold in Japanese markets, they astonishingly discovered samples that were genetic hybrids between blue whales and fin whales. Of course, considering that commercial whaling had already been banned, that whale meat should never have been on the market in the first place. But this finding indirectly suggests that hybridization between these two species might be relatively common. So why would the world's largest and second largest animals interbreed? That's a mystery we may never fully unravel. Perhaps they look so similar that they simply mistake each other for their own kind. If we let our imagination run wild, it could be a scenario similar to how traces of Neanderthal DNA exist in modern humans. It might have all been an accidental mix-up. One thing worth noting is that, genetically speaking, blue whales and fin whales actually have quite a significant divergence. In fact, their genetic differences are comparable to those between humans and chimpanzees. If we take a moment to think about that, it's a little eerie, isn't it? Thankfully, humans and chimpanzees look different enough that we don't have to worry about making the same mistake as these two whales. Why haven't blue whales grown even larger? Since we're discussing the largest animal in the world, it naturally leads us to another question. Why haven't blue whales evolved to be even bigger? Some might argue, they're already massive. Isn't that big enough? But this isn't just about whether they're large enough. It's about the fundamental limits of body size for life on Earth. Think of it like Usain Bolt running the 100-meter dash in 9.58 seconds. Yes, that's incredibly fast, but people will always wonder, can it be done even faster? In the same way, scientists are intrigued by whether blue whales could theoretically evolve to become even bigger. Most researchers believe that a combination of environmental factors determines the upper limit of an animal's body size. Factors such as gravity, temperature, oxygen levels in the atmosphere, and oceanic conditions all work together to establish a natural ceiling for how large a creature can grow. The question that remains is, does the blue whale's current 200-ton size represent the absolute maximum for life on Earth? Or could even larger giants have existed in the past or emerge in the future? That's what scientists are eager to find out. The ultimate size limit. Why blue whales can't get any bigger? Could it be that the blue whale has already reached the maximum possible size for an animal on Earth? Let's break it down. Gravity, the ultimate limiting factor. One of the most significant limiting factors is gravity. This is precisely why the largest animals in history are found in the ocean rather than on land. Terrestrial animals must rely on bones and muscles to support their weight, which means their maximum size is constrained by the structural limits of their skeleton and soft tissues. In contrast, marine animals don't face this problem. The buoyancy of water counteracts the force of gravity, allowing these creatures to grow much larger without the need for an exceptionally strong skeletal system. For instance, the basking shark, despite having a cartilaginous skeleton, can still reach 20 tons. Similarly, massive creatures like the giant squid and the lion's mane jellyfish, which lack heavy structural bones altogether, can still grow to enormous sizes. This brings up an interesting question. Some viewers have asked before, since whales are mammals and breathe with lungs, why do stranded whales die so quickly if they're not suffocated? The answer, once again, lies in gravity. For large whales, once they are beached, their own skeletons are no longer able to support the massive layers of blubber that cover their bodies. Essentially, they end up crushing themselves under their own weight. The pressure damages their internal organs, leading to rapid death. This is why smaller cetaceans, like orcas, dolphins, and pilot whales, have a higher chance of surviving a stranding, whereas for massive baleen whales, it's almost always fatal. The fluid mechanics of blue whale feeding, a critical limitation. So, if living in water allows whales to grow this big, What else prevents them from getting even larger? In 2012, a study by Stanford University biologist Jeremy Goldbogen and St. Louis University physicist Jean Potvin sought to answer this question. Their research focused on analyzing the hydrodynamics of blue whale feeding behavior to determine the relationship between body size and metabolic constraints. Here's how it works. When a blue whale feeds on krill, it lunges forward with its mouth wide open, generating immense resistance as it moves through the water. The larger the whale, the greater the drag it experiences. According to their calculations, a 25-meter-long blue whale encounters approximately 6,100 newtons of drag resistance during a lunge. A 33-meter-long blue whale, however, would experience a dramatic increase to over 10,000 newtons of drag. This increased resistance means that larger blue whales must expend exponentially more energy just to capture their prey. As a result, the additional energy required to sustain a bigger body does not necessarily translate to a proportionate increase in food intake. In other words, beyond a certain size, the energy investment required to hunt would outweigh the energy gained from feeding. Additionally, the high-speed lunging motion momentarily deprives blue whales of oxygen and puts immense strain on their skulls. The combination of these factors effectively places a biological ceiling on how large they can grow. The blue whale's heart, another natural limitation. In 2019, Professor Goldbogen conducted another experiment in which he attached a sensor to a blue whale to monitor its heart rate in real time. The findings were astonishing. At rest, a blue whale's heart beats at around 15 beats per minute. During deep dives, the heart rate plummets to as low as 2 beats per minute to conserve oxygen. When surfacing to breathe, the heart rate spikes dramatically, reaching up to 37 beats per minute. To put this into perspective, if we compare this to human heart rates, it would be like a person's heart oscillating between 10 beats per minute and suddenly spiking to 200 beats per minute, an enormous strain on the cardiovascular system. And let's not forget that a blue whale's heart weighs a staggering 600 kilograms, 1,300 pounds. For such a massive organ, these extreme fluctuations in heart rate likely represent the absolute limit of what its cardiac muscles can handle. Conclusion: the largest possible animal on Earth. All these factors suggest that, under Earth's current environmental conditions, the blue whale may very well be the largest possible animal that can exist. While scientists continue to search for evidence of even larger creatures in Earth's history, the blue whale stands as a living testament to the upper limits of biological size. From a scientific perspective, it is truly fascinating to think that we are coexisting with the largest known animal in the history of life on Earth. The blue whale, a once-in-a-lifetime privilege and a shared responsibility, living in the same era as the largest animal to ever exist on Earth is an incredible privilege. But with that privilege comes a profound responsibility. If the largest creature in history were to go extinct in our time, humanity would bear an unforgivable guilt. In the natural world, there aren't many factors that truly threaten the survival of blue whales. Their primary food source, krill, is in no danger of depletion. In fact, krill are the most abundant animal on the planet. The Antarctic krill population alone is estimated to be around 400 trillion individuals, with a total biomass reaching 500 million tons. These tiny creatures reproduce at an astonishing rate, with each female laying between 6,000 and 10,000 eggs per cycle. This ensures a continuous and stable food supply for the entire marine ecosystem, including blue whales. So despite their massive appetite, blue whales have never had to worry about running out of food. The only natural predator, the orca. Since food scarcity isn't a concern, what about natural predators? The only known predator capable of threatening a blue whale is the orca, also known as the killer whale. However, confirmed cases of orcas successfully hunting blue whales are extremely rare. After extensive research, I could only find 3 well-documented instances where orcas managed to kill a blue whale. 1. 2003, Costa Rica. a group of orcas killed a juvenile blue whale. 2. 2019, Bremer Bay, Australia. A pod of over 50 orcas attacked and killed a 15-meter-long blue whale, likely a recently weaned juvenile. 3. March 2021, Bremer Bay, Australia. A massive pod of about 75 orcas surrounded and hunted a 16-meter-long blue whale, taking nearly 3 hours to bring it down. From these cases, it's evident that orcas mainly target juvenile blue whales. Fully grown adults, due to their sheer size, are practically immune to predation. This means that while orcas may be formidable hunters, they do not pose a significant survival threat to blue whale populations. The real danger: humans. If there is one force capable of truly endangering the blue whale, it is human activity. Humans have been hunting whales since prehistoric times, but for most of history, whaling was primarily for subsistence. Whales were hunted for food, and their populations remained stable because hunting was limited. Traditional whaling was sustainable, as people only took what they needed. However, everything changed in the mid-19th century with the rise of industrial whaling. This was no longer about survival, it was about profit. With the Industrial Revolution, whale oil became a valuable commodity used in lubricants, lamp oils, and various industrial products. The more whales were hunted, the more money could be made. The introduction of steam-powered ships and explosive harpoons made hunting whales dramatically easier. Human greed took over, and in the span of just a century, nearly every whale species on Earth was driven to the brink of extinction. The devastation of commercial whaling. For blue whales, the numbers were catastrophic. During the height of commercial whaling, an estimated 380,000 blue whales were killed. In Antarctic waters alone, 330,000 blue whales were slaughtered. Their global population was reduced to a mere 0.15% of its original size. Although commercial whaling was officially banned in 1986, the damage had already been done. Some whale populations, such as the humpback whale, have since recovered and are no longer considered endangered. But for blue whales, the situation remains grim. The struggle for survival in the modern world. As of 2018, estimates suggest that only 5,000 to 15,000 blue whales remain in the world. They are still classified as an endangered species, facing a high risk of extinction. Even though commercial whaling is no longer the main threat, human activities continue to endanger their survival. Collisions with large ships. Blue whales frequently get hit by cargo ships and tankers, leading to fatal injuries. Entanglement in fishing nets. Many whales become trapped in large fishing gear and are unable to free themselves. Plastic pollution. Microplastics and debris are increasingly contaminating the ocean, affecting marine life. Noise pollution from sonar and industrial activity. Man-made underwater noise disrupts whale communication and navigation, sometimes leading to fatal consequences. A tragic possibility. The extinction of any species is heartbreaking, but if the largest animal in Earth's history were to vanish due to human actions, it would be one of the greatest tragedies in human history. Blue whales have survived for millions of years, enduring ice ages, shifting climates, and natural predators. Yet today, in an age of human dominance, they face their greatest challenge yet. If we fail to protect them, we won't just lose an extraordinary species, we will lose a living link to the history of life on Earth.